So one of the number one questions that we're getting from everybody right now, agents we coach, agents we don't coach, is like, how do I handle all of these conversations with people that are telling me I want to wait until after the holidays? I want to wait until the spring market. And it comes up every single year. I've been doing this for almost 2 decades. And every holiday season, it's always the same question. And it's valid. It's totally valid. If you're a real estate agent and you are maybe in your first couple of years, it is a valid question. Hey, this is interesting. And, I get to October, November, and the conversations I'm hearing over and over and over again is, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for this reason or that reason until after the holidays, after the winter, until the spring. So, Dominic, let me go to you first, and I want to get your take. Ben, I'll get your take, and then I've got a lot to add to this conversation on how agents can handle this period of time.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot to talk about, all the way from how to plan your days through this period of time and what to do in the specific circumstance that you're talking about. And a lot of time as prospecting agents, as you said, we're running across people who have a valid reason. Look, they just don't want people traipsing through their house at Thanksgiving and around Christmas. Fine. That's a perfectly valid reason to not have your house on the market if your motivation isn't strong enough that you need to move at this time of year, which means possibly this isn't somebody that should be on the market right now. We all know the stat that a higher percentage of homes actually sell. They're on the market from now, today, the day before Thanksgiving, through the end of January, because the people that have their homes listed at that time of year are committed to selling, and the buyers that are out there are committed to buying. Now, that's a big chunk, but back to your original point, Brandon, when we talk to somebody that says, hey, I don't want to have my house on the market right now, I want to do it in the spring, let's ask them to meet. So you had a face-to-face interaction with that person, and you're sending them a happy Thanksgiving card and a Merry Christmas card. And so when you get to the other side of New Year's and they do start thinking about making that move again, I mean, how far out in front do you have the possibility of being, right?
Yeah. I mean, you hit a couple of things spot on. Ben, let me get your thoughts, and then I want to go deeper on some of the things Dominic just brought up.
I feel like the feedback we get a lot comes from like, what's the point of prospecting right now? Because everybody's telling me this,
okay,
right? As well. And when you're hearing these types of things, like I want to wait till the new year, just like Dom said, I think first it's discovering, like, is this a lead or is it a brush off, or why are they giving me this, objection or comment, right? But the agents that are succeeding when hearing that and the agents that aren't, I think it goes back to, what are you telling yourself before you start prospecting? And I think Dom was hinting at this, and we can get into it deeper. But when you set up to prospect, like, are you going in telling yourself that everybody's gonna, tell me they want to wait to the new year, so what's the point? And you're just going through the motions. And soon as you hear that, you believe that objection, so you just let it slide. That's really what I take from this conversation, and what I'd love to dive into is just the mindset, and then, that objection, whether we should brush it off, what questions we should ask to see if it is a brush off or if it actually is a real objection.
Okay. Yeah. So much to unpack. So let's start with, man, I have so many thoughts on this. First, I think let's just focus on this point around what Dominic was talking about, which is the idea that a seller who sells during the holiday season does so because they have the highest motivation. They're doing it for a specific reason. They don't know, they're not doing it because of the stats or the data. However, the stats and the data are exactly true. So therefore, and that being this, that homes that sell over the holiday season tend to, exactly like Dominic said, have a higher success rate. B, you can make the argument that they have a higher list to sold price ratio, because the buyers that are also looking to do something over the holiday have the same level of motivation. So the argument that the seller, a lot of people have, which is like, well, there's a lot less buyers during the holiday season. That's true because during the summer months and the spring months, you have a lot more people looking at homes. So although showing activity is higher, if you look at closed transactions in many, many, many markets, December is like a second or a close third in the busiest months of the most closings out of any month over the course of 12 months. Of course, July is always leading the way, right? July is always going to lead the way, but a second or a close third typically is December. So what is the point? The point is, I think that to start is to educate the consumer by using a tactic that we often teach, which is using some type of conditional statement or question. So Ben, to your point, the first thing we have to do is when a seller says to us, hey, I want to wait, we have to find out, is this person waiting because they have high motivation and they think it's better to sell by waiting? Or are they waiting because they have low motivation and they shouldn't be on the market, to Dominic's point? But we have to find that out first. The way that we find that out is this. And this is the first takeaway from people listening to the podcast. If Dominic's the seller, I might ask Dominic a simple question. And that question might be something like this. Dominic, if there was an advantage to you selling over the holiday months or over the winter months versus waiting to sell until the spring, would you be totally against even getting together and at least hearing about it? That's my question. If there was an advantage, meaning you potentially could sell your house for more money with better terms now versus waiting until the spring, is that something you'd even want to meet and discuss in further detail? And of course, we go for no. And if not, Dominic, it's totally fine. And so I think that's where it starts. Dominic, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, that line that you dropped, I use a variation of that all the time. And I just say, Mr. Seller, if there was an advantage to having your home on the market with less competition from other sellers, then is that something that you would be opposed to getting together and having a conversation about? It's basically the same statement. I just add with less competition, right? They're like, oh,
yep.
well, what do you mean?
Yeah. That's what we're trying to help the seller to understand. Listen, we're trying to understand their level of motivation. If somebody is moving, they want to move. Again, we're going to just lay out the options. You're not going to force anybody to do anything, right? I think the idea of that real estate agents somehow have in their mind is like, listen, if you're not going to convince somebody to sell a home, like there's no objection handler, sales tactic, or strategy. Like you got to just remove that from your mind. Your job is to not convince people to move. That's a battle you're going to lose 100% of the time. Your job as a trusted advisor is to give people their options. And the facts are the facts, that there's a case to be made that if you're on the market during the holiday season, you'll have less homes to compete with and the most serious buyers. So if you knew that, Mr. Seller, and that is the fact, you have another option? Because I think a lot of home sellers don't know that, and that's why they're waiting. Well, it doesn't make any sense to sell during the winter. No one's looking for houses. And, they think, so once they know, perhaps they say, wow, I've never looked at it that way, because here's the facts. There's a lot of houses on the market. And just like I said, December is one of the most busiest months. So that's point number one. Ben, anything to add on that point?
No, I just think the industry is just so conditioned to believe that spring is the time, and they just don't know any different. And you nailed it.
Yeah. The second point I want to bring up is this whole idea of should I even be prospecting at all or not, right? Should I just throw in the towel and well, here's what we know. Your competition is doing exactly that. They've hung it up. They've got the white flag up. This is a tough year. We know that the market's been really hard. So I'm not going to do anything. And I think that's a huge, huge, huge mistake. because the way I look at this is a pipeline building opportunity. Here's what I mean. Most agents take really Q4 off. I mean, as soon as Thanksgiving gets here, they're done, right? They just hang out. It's over. Which results, as we know, with the 90-day rule, that their first quarter of the following year is absolute dog shit. It's just awful. And it's very frustrating, because if you think about this, if you can just think about our business in 90-day increments in the future, I think it will help you stay away from a lot of frustration. We have huge ambition at the end of the year. We start setting goals, we start building business plans, you get all excited. New Year's resolutions are right around the corner. And then you come out of the gate with no pipeline. And January and February, some of the slowest months we see in the year, it's because agents have no pipeline. They have nothing going on. So they have to spend Q1 building up the pipeline. And then they get into Q2 and things get really well, which further justifies their confirmation bias to what you just said, Ben. See, I told you, it's all about Q2. Well, it's all about Q2 because you designed it that way, right? You can come out of the gate with a pipeline that converts in Q1 if you work in Q4. And we're always working for the next quarter. So to me, that was the next huge opportunity that I think a lot of agents miss. Even if these people are waiting, it's fine. You're not going to convince them. Build a massive database, a massive pipeline, so that when are you going to be in this business in 3 months? I would hope so. So 3 months is going to come and go, whether you like it or not. Wouldn't it be nice to wake up and have 37 sellers in your pipeline that you talk to October, November, December, who all say, yep, we're going to be selling in spring, and voila, you can come out of the gate swinging? I mean, that's my thoughts, Dom. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, dude, you just teed this up beautifully. That's exactly right. And yesterday, what are we on, the 22nd? So yesterday you posted your video about making a business plan, and the decision to work in and around the holidays isn't made today, Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It's made a year ago. So I'm glad you brought this up, because I had this sitting in front of me. This is my business plan that I made a year ago. It tells me right here that I'm off today, because all the other days that I was scheduled to work, I put a little green check mark on that says, yeah, Dominic did his prospecting, did his work today. So I have earned today off, tomorrow off, my youngster's home from school. So this decision is already made. Now, am I going to be working next week all the way up until Christmas Eve? Yes. But I planned it at the beginning of the year, a year ago. I got out my blank calendar and I wrote down all the days that my son is off of school, and I took those days off, which means the other days I have to work. That means I have to fill in those days all the way up until Thanksgiving, all of the days between Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve. Like, I'm working, I'm stuffing the pipeline, right? But my decision to work tomorrow or Friday was made a year ago.
Wait, so you mean you're just treating this like any other real job? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Have a schedule.
It's crazy.
And I'm the CEO of my company, and I'm the rainmaker, which means if I don't adhere to the schedule, who else is? Right?
That's right.
Who's showing up and punching the clock if it's not me?
So true. It's like, people want to have a business. I can't wait till I work for myself. You wait till you work for yourself. You won't ever get vacation time. You won't ever get holidays off. You don't get sick days, my friend. It's like, what do you mean wait until I have my own business? Well, now you do, Mr. Realtor. It's like, and now you find yourself with more days off now than you ever had being an employee. And how's that working out for you? And so, we need to work the same way we would if we had a real job. And it's all about some of the reasons we're talking about. All right. Now, the next piece of this to me is we talked about the upside, downside to selling during the winter or not selling during the winter. We talked about pipeline and what that looks like. We talked about the competition being off. Again, for me, it goes back to, I think, what Ben's talking about as a mindset, is that I cannot control human beings. Only thing I can do is control what it is that I do every single day. And no matter what time of year it is, I guess we're kind of just talking about it just now, I'm going to continue to do the work. I'm going to continue to build my pipeline. I'm going to continue to do what I do, because here's why. It's not 100% of the people are waiting. Like, here's the challenge. I want everybody to go in their MLS and see how many active listings there are. It's not everybody. So what that means is you could pick up some business right now if you have a mindset that says, well, people are buying and selling. I can log into my MLS right now and say, wow, there was 175 closings in my market today. And the same thing will happen tomorrow, and the same thing will happen next day. The same thing will happen on Christmas Eve. The same thing will happen on Christmas Day. What does this tell me? There's people out there that are buying and selling right now. So there's no downside in me continuing to prospect every single day. Yeah, is a lot of it going to be pipeline business for next year? For sure. But those that don't take their foot off the gas will, in fact, get business now. I think that's another piece, Ben, that you were talking about earlier.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just going into it with that mindset, it goes into Dominic's point too. Like, you're not trying to like grasp at the last moment to try and put something together. Like, you're set so far out into the future goal wise, and you're working so far ahead that it takes that pressure off you in a way that when you do take that time off, when you are prospecting, you're fully present.
Yeah, I just really like the idea of that. Like, we talk a lot about mindset and overcoming fear and doubt that a lot of us feel in this business. The thing to solve that is having a big fat pipeline. You know, like, I love going into the database or wherever you keep your leads and saying, oh my gosh, look at how many people I have for February. I got 17 people for February. I got 28 people in March. I got 37 people in April. You know, like, to me, there's nothing more exciting than that. You know, I just love that feeling. It gives me a sense of certainty that I think a lot of agents don't have right now. Now, go ahead, Dom. You want to add something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was gonna add to that and to Ben's point, and that is, if you have that pipeline building up when you're doing your prospecting right now, you can do it, like, I don't want to say in comfort, but in confidence, right? If you're not starving right now because you've done all your work the rest of the year, you can go through your prospecting without that desperation, without commission breath, and you can stack the pipeline. And Brandon, you said, or I think Ben said, we pick up a listing a month easily this time of year, just scraps, right? Something that failed to sell in the summertime and now has been completely abandoned, but the guy's getting a divorce, getting a job transfer, a new construction job is finished sooner than expected. I mean, there's always something every single year, but you'll never know if you're not there.
That's right. Now, here's another huge point. All right. So the existing home sales report just came out yesterday or the day before. And we have officially kind of hit the bottom of this home sales collapse, if you will. I mean, the seasonality, we just fell under 4 million home sales. I think it's for the first time ever, because I think we did 4.1 million in 08 or 09. So we just hit the bottom. What does this mean? This means that the reason for that is a lack of demand. You know, the Fed has destroyed demand on purpose, right? Now, as mortgage rates have just started to come back down, thankfully, right? We just had a huge drop, a biggest drop than we had in months and months and months. Mortgage applications, they just start going up week over week over week over week over week over. What does this mean? This means that people are getting ready to purchase a home. Mortgage rates, we believe, have also peaked, which means that they will continue to come down, driving up demand, which will drive up home sales. So those that are building this pipeline right now, I believe 2024 will be a great rebound year. 2023 was tough. Transactions fell off a cliff. We've never seen a bigger drop off, you know? I mean, it's massive. And I believe that we're going to come back next year and go right back over 5 million home sales again in 2024, which is a massive opportunity for those that are working right now to build that pipeline.
Yeah. Build their pipeline. Yeah. Build their pipeline, build their skills. Like, you better be ready for game day when things start to get good. Don't get stuck behind.
And there's going to be 20-25% less realtors next year. We have a great opportunity for those that are working right now. And I cannot stress that enough. I feel like I'm saying that on every single video that I'm making right now. Next year is a great opportunity. Transactions are going to go up by 1 million. So that's 2 million more commission checks. You got 20% less people going after the people you're going after. That's a really good opportunity for you. With mortgage rates sliding down, we might find them in the mid sixes. It could be a little boom for those that are in the market.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Brandon, can you give, so that's a really good look at the strategic reasons why an agent should be prospecting now, whether they should already have had it in their calendar. There's opportunities out there for now business and to stuff the pipeline. Can you give us a couple of tactical things? Let's say an agent jumps on the phone, talks to somebody today that says, you know what, you got to call me after New Year's. We're not doing anything until after New Year's. Yep. But, you're not brushing me off, right? No. Yeah, definitely call us after New Year's. What should an agent be doing between now, the day before Thanksgiving, and when they have a scheduled call with that person in January so that they remain top of mind? Could you just give us a couple of things?
Yeah, I love it. That's a great question, by the way. So we get right into our follow-up system. I interviewed one of our agents on the podcast yesterday. We'll be releasing that here the next day or so. And he talked about this very thing. And so we have to have a system around it, right? The days of sticky notes everywhere and like, call this guy, and like, you just got to get away from that. So here's what we recommend. What we recommend is if that person says, hey, I'm not doing anything until next year, well, I'm going to have that person as what we call a seller nurture. And what that means to us is this, is that person is going to get a phone call in January. He's one of the people that I talked about a minute ago where I said, I've got this many people for this month and this month. I'm talking about what we often refer to as the SLD, the Seller Lead Database. So he's going to go into that January folder. He's going to get a phone call, right? Probably the first or second week in January. Number two, he's going to, because we're only a few weeks out from that, he's probably going to get a piece of direct mail from me every single week. He's probably going to get a weekly email from me every single week with a video, perhaps. I'm going to outline kind of what's happening in the local market. I'll probably outline exactly what's happening in his neighborhood. He's most likely going to get something, some type of video text message from me. I'm going to add him and engage with him on social media. I'm going to do all 5 of those things over the next 45 days so that I can't help but be top of mind. So he's going to get a voice-to-voice conversation. He's going to be an email. He's going to see me in his mailbox. He's going to engage with me on social, all of those avenues, so that when January comes around, it's like, oh, hey, Brandon. That's what it's like. Not like, wait, who are you again? Which is what I think most agents find themselves having to deal with when they do their follow-up.